Hey everybody, my name is Jamie and my project is about Frieze groups. So Frieze groups are essentially repeating patterns of the same shape. The best example is probably like wallpaper. The patterns are made by 5 different moves, so I'm going to show you guys the moves. And there's 7 different patterns, but for the purposes of the project, I'll probably only get through about 4. For my project, I don't really have a game, but it's going to function more as a lesson because I feel like doesn't necessarily lend itself to having a game. Instead of a game, what I would do is have the students use like a physical model and then basically complete the patterns on their own after being taught. So I'll show you guys. Basically, we would use a piece of paper with a mock x-axis and then use triangles as our shapes to actually complete the patterns. The lesson about Frieze groups is intended for grade 6 students. So the first thing we're going to start with is each of the 5 moves that we use and need to know in order to complete the Frieze groups or patterns. So the first move is called the translation. And essentially all we're doing here is we're just moving a shape to the right. So we're going to use a right triangle to demonstrate this. So we start here and all we do is we translate it to the right. Keep in mind that we are going to keep the first shape in its original position. So we take our second shape and we just translate it to the right. The next move is called the horizontal reflection. And all we do here is a reflection or a rotation over the x-axis. So basically we're just going to flip the shape. So we start over top, flip over the x-axis, and that's it. Vertical reflections are basically the same as horizontal reflections, except we're going to flip over the y-axis. So we're going to start on the left, flip our triangle, and end up on the other side. 180-degree rotations. The next move involve a half spin also going over the x-axis. So we start right here. We'll rotate 180 degrees and end up on the opposite side of the x-axis. The final move, glide reflections, are a little bit more complicated because they involve 2 steps, a translation and a horizontal rotation. So first we're going to start and we're going to translate our first shape. And then we're going to take the same shape and flip it over the x-axis. Okay, so now we're going to go through a few of the actual Frieze patterns. So the first one is called a hop. And all we're doing is we're going to translate and then we're just going to repeat. So we're going to take our shape and just translate to the right. And for the next shape, we just translate and keep going. And that's a pattern. The second pattern is called the step. And a step, as it says here, is basically just a glide reflection, which we went over earlier. So we're going to translate our shape. And then we're going to flip over the x-axis. And then we would just keep going. The third Frieze pattern is called a siddle. So what we're going to do here is just translate and then reflect vertically and then repeat. So take our first shape. We're going to translate it pretty far because we're going to have to reflect over the y-axis back towards. But we'll translate and then we flip over the y-axis to complete it. And that's number 3. So the fourth and last Frieze pattern I'm going to show in this video is called the spinning hop. And it starts with a translation, like all of them so far. Except we're going to, after we translate, we're going to rotate 180 degrees over the x-axis. So we'll translate the shape and then rotate 180 degrees to complete it. So that's all I'm going to do for now. Showing 4 of 7 Frieze groups is all I really have time for in the video. But those were the 5 moves that we would use to make the Frieze patterns and then the first 4. And theoretically, students should be able to use the moves and the instructions to complete the remaining 3 even without a teacher showing them. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.